idiotic things I got myself into, and that God somehow extricated me and did not really give me the full consequences of stupid acts. And in His grace did not give me what I deserved. And that to me is an interesting approach to take. Not only to thank Him for what He has done, but also to thank Him for what has not happened in terms of things that could have occurred. I think that's a very effective way to go. So my encouragement to people is to seek to thank God for several things, maybe 10 things in the morning before you get out of bed, if you could do that. That would be a very helpful exercise for you to pursue. If you start the day with gratitude, I believe it will affect your whole perspective in the course of the day. If you start your day with a negativity and a grumbling and a fear about what you have to accomplish that day, that too will affect your whole mindset in the course of that day. So in effect, what I'm encouraging you to do is to set your mind on those things that really matter and those things that will last. So when we think about God's many deliverances in the past, I think we do well to remember the people and the situations and the lessons that He has taught us over the years. Someone once suggested the possibility of thinking of someone who has made an important difference in your life, and then writing a story, a short story, about how that person helped them. Then to do something very interesting, go visit that person and read the story to him. Now that would be a very interesting little exercise to do that. Somebody who had some impact on your life, just to read that little note to them. Think about how disproportionately influential, how encouraging, how powerful that would be for us to speak our love and our gratitude in that relationship. I think it's an interesting thing. Who has helped you shape your life? And it's a gratitude visit then, for their sake and for yours. It's not a bad notion. Or if not reading it, expressing it. Something along those lines I think we do well to remember. So if we review God's benefits in the past, we do well also to remember His blessings in the present tense. And so when we move to the present tense then, we want to have this mindset then of remembering, as Paul said, what do you have that you did not receive? And if you did not receive it, why do you boast as if you had not received it? You see what he's saying to the Corinthians. This is 1 Corinthians 4:7. What do you have that you weren't already given? Then why do you boast as if you weren't given it? You see what he's saying? Were you around when there was some selection process for abilities, for intelligence, for opportunities? No, you were not. God has given you all things. All that you have and are really effectively given to you by God out of His grace, including your ability to make wealth, including your intelligence, including your opportunities. When we look back on this in this perspective then, we realize that there is a great danger. As Os Guinness put it in a book called In Two Minds, rebellion against God does not begin with the clenched fist of atheism, but with the self-satisfied heart of the one for whom thank you is redundant. And I think that's where there's a tremendous danger. When we begin to think of thank you as being a redundant, perfunctory exercise, I think we begin to get too self-satisfied. The key, I believe, to overcoming the oppressive problem of pride is not to try to become humble. You know, there are people who are humble and proud of it. You know, you can be proud of... No, really, it's an ironic thing. You become proud of your humility, and your humility wants to be recognized. So there's something perverse about us. You see, you give anonymously and you're proud of it. That sort of thing. We do these things all the time. I've told you about that trilogy of books I've written before. Remember the trilogy of books? Humility and How I Attained It, Pride and How I Overcame It, and How You Too Can Be Like Ken Boa. A very, very wonderful trilogy of books. But what is the key to humility? It's certainly not trying to be humble, is it? Because then you'll actually become like a Uriah Heep, you know. You're just a humble man, and there would be a perverse form of pride underlying that. So one of Dickens' most brilliant inventions as a character, a man who's riddled with pride, but who poses as one who is humble. Brilliant thing in David Copperfield. But rather, the key is to focus your eye on something other than yourself. The key to humility is focusing on grace, being amazed by grace, the gift of grace. And the more you're consumed and the more you are preoccupied by the fact that all things have been given to you, that God has lavished His grace upon you, that as you begin to focus on that, what do you have to be proud of that you didn't already receive? So you have nothing to be boastful about, because it's all a gift. All of us are really unprofitable servants, as Jesus put it, who have just done that which they ought to have done. And this concept then is that when we see that God has lavished us with grace and goodness, then we begin to set our minds on Him and off of ourselves, and we're not impressed by our own achievements, but rather we're grateful for what God may do through us, what He may choose to do through us, but it will not be really me. There's a tricky business here, though, isn't there? Somebody comes up to you and thanks you for something that you did that was of great value to them. Now, there are two extremes you can take. One extreme, oh, it wasn't me at all, it was Jesus. You know, and that I think can be a mistake, because it really actually deflects the thing in a way that can eventually become another perverse form of pride. You see, it's tricky business, this. Also, the person really wants to thank you, and you're deflecting it. The opposite extreme is to begin to believe your press reviews, and to begin to take it, oh, yeah, I really am a good guy, aren't I? I think the better thing, perhaps, is to, instead, if somebody thanks you for something, take pleasure in their gratitude as being something that you enjoy, that God has done in their lives, you see. And you enjoy it, and you say that I appreciate that. But what you're really doing, though, is you're taking pleasure in their gratitude. And you're recognizing that if there is a good thing that happened, it's because God did it in you and through you. And when you do it that way, then it's a process. We realize it's a divine human process. He is doing it through us. When we are called to be blessings to others, when we are called to be agents of change, really what we're called to do is to allow Christ to live His life in us and through us as us, and to manifest that life in a unique way through our own personalities. And when we do it that way, then we can realize that we were agents that God has elected to use to be blessings to others. That's what ministry is about. There is this benefit then that God can provide. But you don't take it to heart and suppose that you're the one who did it. You don't become proud about that. Instead, in fact, you become grateful that God would see fit to use you in such a way to serve another man or woman. You see, this is the concept that I think can be helpful. So I want to encourage us then to recognize that all that we have in our health, our intelligence, our abilities, our lives, these are all gifts from the hand of God and not our own creation. We have to actively acknowledge our utter reliance upon God and review the many benefits we enjoy in the present. Otherwise, we will forget. I think this is a natural temptation and tendency. We've done this before years ago when we actually decided once to have, at the closing of our time together, just prayers of thanksgiving. Couldn't do it. Never works. Try it with a group sometime even just for 5 minutes. Try it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They'll never do it. The best they'll do is a few prayers of gratitude, and then they'll go into petitions. In fact, one of the interesting petitions will be, God, give us gratitude for, and that's a petition. It's not a prayer of gratitude, it's a prayer for gratitude. So we slip back. Why do we slip back into the idea that we've got to constantly squeeze in our petitions? Are we afraid that God won't know what was best for us? Why can't we back off and be grateful for and not try to always get, but rather be grateful? You see this natural tendency? I won't do that today. But you try it with a group and you'll see how difficult it is for a group of people to not slip right back into a litany of gimme, gimme, gimmes. And it's just a natural temptation, or a natural disposition. Gratitude, thanksgiving.